There are those who wonder what the authority, the theological qualification that the council wanted to attribute to its teachings, knowing that it avoided giving solemn dogmatic definitions, as opposed to dogmatic definitions that are non-solemn. There are such things. And also as opposed to solemn definitive teachings. That would be different than dogmatic definitions. See my Magisterium playlist for more on that distinction, but I do point that out because it's something that is often overlooked. People will take this part of the quote and they'll say, oh, that means there's no infallible teachings of Vatican II. That's not what it says. It says there's no solemn dogmatic definitions. But there are other infallible teachings that could be promulgated in a way that is different than solemn dogmatic teachings, such as non-solemn dogmatic definitions that are just being reiterated, or solemn Catholic doctrine that is being taught definitively. So again, see my Magisterium playlist for more distinctions, but this does not mean there are no infallible teachings at Vatican II. That's not what it means. But again, it's often taken in that way. Committing the infallibility of the ecclesiastical magisterium. And again, this is partly why they see it. They say, oh, well, I guess that means there's no infallible teachings. No, he's talking about dogmatic definitions that are infallible. And the answer is known to those who remember the conciliar declaration of March 6, 1964, repeated on November 16, 1964. Given the pastoral nature of the council, it avoided pronouncing in an extraordinary way dogmas. Again, notice dogmas, not necessarily definitive Catholic doctrine, but dogmas, endowed with the note of infallibility. But it has nevertheless endowed its teachings with the authority of the supreme ordinary magisterium, which ordinary and so manifestly authentic magisterium must be accepted meekly and sincerely by all the faithful, according to the mind of the council regarding the nature and purposes of the individual documents. So long story short, what this is saying is that the council had a pastoral character, and pastoral here doesn't mean non-doctrinal, because he then goes on to speak about how it has doctrinal teachings in its ordinary magisterium. So pastoral doesn't mean non-doctrinal. Pastoral is a way of communicating doctrine. And so what he's saying is, instead of coming up with solemn, dogmatic definitions and canons, perhaps like the Council of Trent, there's going to be a different way of communicating it, a more pastoral way of communicating doctrine. And the vast majority of Vatican II is going to be doctrine that is communicated in a non-definitive way, but he's saying it requires religious submission of intellect and will. So there is a submission that has to be given to it. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm free to just reject Vatican II because it doesn't have dogmas or canons. Absolutely not. He's saying the doctrines that it teaches, you still have to accept with docility, because it still speaks with its supreme ordinary magisterium, its authentic magisterium in its most supreme form, that is an ecumenical council. And it has to be accepted according to the mind of the council, so according to the degree of authority by which it was taught, because the church can teach things with greater degrees of authority. So that's effectively what he's getting at.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. God bless.